Okay, so welcome to the LATS podcast. Today, as our first installation, will it be? We will be looking at the top 25 and my own personal top 25 following week 9 of the 2025 college football season. Now, we'll do this one way where we'll go through the current top 25. I'll give a little comment to just give a little higher or lower. Do they deserve it? Opinion on each team in here generally. And then we will go look at my personal top 25 and we will go from there. So currently in the top 25, the top five have been pretty much solidated throughout these last couple of weeks. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Bama, and Georgia. I agree with them. Those are the top five teams in the country, pretty far and away, in my opinion, as well. There's a big gap at the sixth spot. Obviously, as you will see in a minute, I do move them around a little bit. I believe that some teams in here are a little bit riding last year more than maybe they should. But for the most part, I have no gripes there. My gripes with the top 25 and really where you start seeing like deviation in my top 25 is that 6 to 14 range. Really, you could go as far as 17 or 18. With this season, how muddy it is from 6 on back, you could probably make a pretty damn good argument for most of the teams in the top 25 to be higher up. So the biggest gripe I have is that argument is being unilaterally applied to certain teams, certain conferences. And it's something that I really tried to fix with my personal top 25. So going just one by one here. Oregon, I get it. Their losses to Indiana. Indiana's good. I don't believe they deserve to be number 6 simply because of who they've played and who they've beat. I understand they're good wins. They're impressive numbers. That 60 to something odd win they get every now and then is impressive. But it's kind of the Notre Dame or Penn State thing for the last couple of years where, yeah, they're winning. Yeah, they're not doing a ton of wrong, but they're not necessarily winning the big games. And your only loss is 30 to 20 to Indiana at home. Really, it should have been more, and it was uglier than that scoreline gives. Next, Ole Miss. I really don't have an issue with Ole Miss where they are. In fact, I have Ole Miss at my 6. Georgia Tech. Okay. Vanderbilt. Love Diego Pavia. Love the story. But I feel that they are number 9 kind of by the product of the constant echo chamber in the media for the SEC is the best conference. I get it. They are the best conference right now. I get it. Vanderbilt is much, much better than they used to be. But you can't just discount the fact that they do have a loss. Oh, but it's to Alabama. Yeah. So what? Oregon has a loss to number 2 Indiana. So there's not much ground to stand on with that argument in my eyes. The same thing kind of goes for Miami. Miami's loss is obviously significantly worse than Alabama. But I don't see, especially with the certain teams behind them, I don't see how you can keep them where they are. I don't think Vanderbilt's a top 10 team. I believe they are quality. I believe they're a top 20 team solidly, maybe even top 15. I have to remember where I put them. But I do not believe they deserve a top 10 ranking right now. There are other teams behind them who have done no wrong. And you will see that reflected in my rankings. Notre Dame, get them the fuck out of the number 12 spot. Texas Tech, they should be higher. They are really good. I understand they lost to Arizona State, but they are really good still. They curb stomped Oklahoma State. Get it? Oklahoma State's basically an overglorified FCS school now in the Power Conference, but still, they looked impressive. They bounced back. It'll be interesting to see where their quarterback injury situation takes them, especially when you know that they have BYU on the horizon. But they should be a little higher. Tennessee should be lower. Virginia, a little higher, not by virtue of their own, but by others doing the wrong. Louisville, I'm kind of okay with where they are, maybe a little lower. Cincinnati, they should be way higher. They should be near the top 10. I think I had them at 12, maybe 13. I do not remember. Oklahoma should not be ranked. Missouri should not be ranked. Texas should not be ranked. I think I have Missouri ranked. I think I might have Oklahoma ranked. But I believe that the group of five is kind of being screwed out of a bunch of spots simply because of these schools. I get it. The SEC is good, but you can't discount the fact that certain teams like San Diego State are 6-1, 7-1. They're dominating good Mountain West teams. I get it. They're not playing Mississippi State every week. They're not playing Texas A&M every week, but they're handling business as they should in the group of five. They're winning, and that reflects in my rankings. Michigan, I don't think they're a top 25 caliber team. I'll be honest. Houston, I agree. They should be ranked. USC should not be ranked. Utah should be ranked. Memphis should not be ranked. Looking at the others receiving votes, I believe I have the whole top, those next four ranked. Navy should be ranked. Navy should be in the top 20. I think I have them around 20. Tulane should be ranked. Their only loss is to Ole Miss, who is really good on offense. And I don't think there is a group of five defense, maybe aside from San Diego State, that could have a hold a candle to that Lane Kiffin offense. And even at that, San Diego State probably lets up 40 there. Washington, they're good. I haven't seen anything to turn me off of them, but I haven't seen much to turn me on for them. Same with Iowa. It's Iowa. They find ways to win. They're good defensively. They're solid. They don't make a lot of mistakes. So that pretty much rounds out my opinions on this top 25 currently. South Florida, they're good. They're fringe. San Diego State, I believe, should be ranked. I think I have them ranked. LSU should not be ranked. Agreed. James Madison should not be ranked. North Texas should not be ranked. Illinois shouldn't even be getting votes. Neither should Pitt. So, with that, we go on to my top 25. Here's my top 25. And the first thing you'll notice, we'll go 25 to 1, simply for factor of awe. But the bottom five looks a lot similar to that final receiving votes category. And then the mesh with that 25. Iowa, Washington, San Diego State. I think they all deserve to be ranked. Yes, there are certain schools with 2 losses. You will see I value winning a lot more than losing. I don't do the good loss thing very often unless you're obviously a better team than the next. Utah, I think, is better than San Diego State. I struggle to put Washington or Iowa above Utah or above San Diego State simply for the reasoning They have two losses. Some of the losses are reasonable, but they haven't given me that wow factor yet to really move them above those two. Utah still has a chance at the Big Ten title or at the Big 12 title. I don't think Iowa or Washington have a are within a mile of it. They're almost done already. Their seasons are still fine. They're going bowling already. It's week 8, week 9. They're going bowling already. And yet, I still think certain group of 5 teams deserve to be ahead of them. San Diego State's defense is elite. They went on the road to Fresno State, who is a perennial Mountain West contender, shut them down, and won by 4 scores. That's incredible. That's hard to do. I've watched Fresno State my whole life. That is very hard to do, especially with the way that offense has been clipping for the Bulldogs. Utah, their only losses are to my number 7 and my number 10. I still think they are a very good team, and I don't see much reason why to move them elsewhere. Memphis, same reasoning as San Diego State. They're 7-1, and their only loss, I will say, is to UAB. That was an ugly game. They should not have lost that. Had they been undefeated, they would probably be around where Notre Dame, where Virginia is for me right now. But they lost, so they stay there. Oklahoma, Tennessee. These teams are much higher. Specifically, Tennessee is much higher. I think Tennessee is 13 in the top 25. They're 14. Tennessee has not proven anything to me. I will say, I have not watched a ton of Tennessee this year. I watched Georgia, and I watched them choke that game away and put it in a nice little gift wrap and hand it to Georgia. So out of what I've seen, I don't see much from that mid-tier of the SEC. I see the SEC as a 4-bid league this year for the playoff. I don't see Tennessee or Oklahoma sniffing that anymore. Oklahoma has not looked good the last couple of weeks. Ever since John Mateer got hurt, they were fine. He came back. They've struggled. Navy, they're undefeated. They have to be ranked. I have them at 18. I think that's pretty reasonable for being the only undefeated Group of 5 school. Houston, Louisville, Virginia. Looking at it now, I honestly disagree with myself. I think Houston should be 15. Houston's only loss is to Texas Tech. Louisville's loss is to Virginia. I don't even know who Virginia lost to. So, just a couple things there. I mean, I think Virginia lost to NC State. I can check that. So their only loss is to NC State. That is an ugly loss. That is a bad loss. They have a couple good wins. I will give them that. Louisville is a good win. Florida State was a good win. I am all for, in certain circumstances, saying give the win the value at the point of the win. In the same breath, you have to have some movement on the quality of win, the quality of schedule, and the strength of record. At some point, you have to recognize, oh yeah, beating Clemson at home wasn't that impressive, Georgia Tech. Houston has proved me incredibly wrong in the Big 12 this year. I thought they were going to be a bottom feeder again. And ironically, it's 3 of the newcomers, quote unquote, to the Big 12 that are running it right now. BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston are all the closest in reach to the title aside from Texas Tech. And Houston has an easy playoff path. They just have to win 4 games against garbage teams, bottom half Big 12 teams. I said garbage. They're not terrible. They're still Big 12 teams. They're still good. But West Virginia and UCF, they're not necessarily going to be getting any rewards for their performance this season. So we move on. Notre Dame. Um, this is a ranking driven by the virtue of the top 25 AP. I don't believe they deserve to be at 14. However, they have looked decent in the last couple games. USC is their best win. I don't have USC ranked, obviously. USC, in my opinion, is around the 30s. And by 30s, I mean like 32, 33. I think there are teams that are better than USC. Many people that I've talked to, Notre Dame fans, they say, oh, but their two losses are to Miami and to Texas A&M by 1 point. They're combined 3-point losses. Who cares? BYU was combined 2 yards away from going undefeated last season, going to the Big 12 title, and making the playoff no matter what. But they didn't. If I didn't look at the Big 12, if I didn't look at the AP and was blindly looking at resume, I probably put Notre Dame around where Oklahoma or Tennessee is. I probably move a lot of teams up above them. But by simply the quality of their program, the people on the field, the coaching, Marcus Freeman is a good coach. I don't like him. I hate Notre Dame, but he is a good coach. CJ Carr is a decent quarterback right now. He needs to grow. But I cannot put them above any other teams in front of them because they have two losses. The teams in front of them don't. I just believe they're a better quality team currently than some of the teams behind them. So that's kind of what they are. They're there not by any of their own doing, but kind of by everybody else's. And that's just where I had to slot them in. Moving on to the next three. I'll do the next three kind of in a bundle. We'll focus on each team there, and then we'll get to the top 10. I'll explain a little bit more. Cincinnati. Cincinnati is going to miss out on the Big 12 title game. I want them to win it. Their only hard game remaining is BYU. I want them to get in because I want to prove the ESPN establishment and the Big 12 establishment that, hey, the teams that you brought in aren't just bottom feeders. They're running your conference effectively now. Last season, Arizona State, who's picked 16th, BYU, who's picked 14th, they were two of the best teams in the conference. BYU should have made the conference title game, but they made a mistake. They lost a tiebreaker. BYU is the second best team in the conference last year. Arizona State was the best. And now you're seeing a lot of the same. Cincinnati and Houston were picked below the bottom four in the Big 12 this year. BYU was picked about 9th, I believe. And I think had they known that Jake Retzoff wasn't going to be there, I think he would have been even lower. Somehow. Even though they returned 85% production. So I need Cincinnati and Houston to prove my point. Cincinnati's hardest game remaining is BYU. I think they will lose that. You will see. I am a BYU fan. I have my opinions on them. I have them pretty high in this ranking compared to the main AP. But I think they're that good. Moving on. Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, kind of like I touched on earlier, they're the product of years and years and years and years and years of echo chambering. The SEC is the best conference. The SEC is the best conference. It's super, super deep. I don't agree necessarily. This season, I think the SEC is about 4 teams. Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M. I think those are the only teams that have a shot at the playoff. I think Vanderbilt is good. I can give them that. Diego Pavia, that story, seeing them go from this bottom feeder team that every single person in the country ragged on. Heck, if you were a group of five school, you were like, yes, we get to play Vanderbilt. That's awesome. I am okay with them being ranked 12th. They're good. Their only losses to Alabama. I'm fine with that. But I can't put them above Miami. Miami's just a better team. Miami, though, if you were going to make the argument, Vanderbilt's loss is much better than Vanderbilt or Miami's loss. Miami turned the ball over 4 times, I believe, in that Louisville game. And I'm giving Louisville a lot of props for that. Prior to that game, I had Louisville around 29, around the bottom half, around the fringes, maybe 25. I had them around there. I'm giving them a lot of props. That defense, Jeff Brom, they know how to win football games. They might go to the ACC title game. They might stiff arm Miami out of the ACC title game, which let's just say that's a terrible conference. People try to say, oh, it's the third best conference. It's better than the Big 12. Topic for another day, but I think the Big 12's the second best football conference currently. And I think the best conference in the country overall sports. But we keep moving. Miami at 11. Top 10 time. We'll go top to bottom here. Indiana, Ohio State, Texas A&M. Your undefeated juggernauts. I believe the AP is keeping Ohio State number 1 because they've done no wrong. They're last season's national champions. I am okay with that. I'm okay with letting them stay where they are until they do something wrong. However, I believe at about the half point in the season, you need to start shifting to this season a little bit more on emphasis. You need to kind of take your fingers off of that national championship from last year and start focusing to this year as a ranker. And so far this year, Indiana is super impressive. Kirk Cignetti is going to lead that team to a playoff bid. He's gonna lead that team to a Big Ten title. He's gonna lead that team to an undefeated season. He's gonna lead that team to a bye. They have been more impressive to me than Ohio State. They have not played, neither of them have played the strongest competition. Aside from their marquee wins. Which I don't really know what Ohio State's marquee win is. Texas? Texas has proved to not be very good this year. I have Texas around 40. I think the fact that they're ranked right now is a joke. I don't think they're good at all. So I think Oregon's just a better win than that. But I think those two are the best teams in the country currently. Texas A&M is going to have to do something great to break into that top 2. Texas A&M, same virtue. They've done nothing wrong, and they're in the SEC, and they're undefeated. So I put them at 3. I can't put them below Alabama or Georgia or Ole Miss because they have losses. They may not be a better team than Alabama right now. They may not be a better team than Ole Miss right now. However, they've done nothing wrong. Marcel Reed has looked competent. Elko has re-established that program into more than just an 8-4 team. It feels like for the last decade and a half, you've seen 8-4, 8-4, 8-4, 8-4. I haven't at least seen a Texas A&M team that's formidable consistently. I've seen, this Texas A&M team is going to be impressive, and then a choke. every year. So they finally have found something, and I'm rewarding them for it. 4, 5, 6 here. Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss. Ole Miss lost to Georgia. Georgia lost to Alabama. Oh, but Alabama lost to Florida State. You just said Florida State's not a good win. This is one of those points where I say it was week one. You're coming off of a season where it was a bit of a disappointment. You're getting the rust off. You're working into it. You're on the road at Florida State. That's not an easy place to play. Florida State had a lot of aspirations this year. Florida State was top 10 at that point, I believe. Alabama is the hottest team in the country right now, aside from Indiana and one other team, but we'll get to them in a minute. Alabama is the hottest team in the country right now. They keep adding layers. They struggled to run. They struggled to block in weeks past. They're fixing it. They're getting better. They beat Georgia on the road, I believe. And that's something Ole Miss proved they couldn't do. So I really don't have much more to say about Alabama or about Georgia and Ole Miss. Ole Miss should have won that game. Ole Miss should be undefeated right now, but they're not. I don't know what happened in that game. But the offensive side of the ball and Lane Kiffin's, honestly, just genius. From what I've seen, is genius. That is really impressive to me. And that is why I put them above two undefeateds in BYU and Georgia Tech. BYU and Georgia Tech are both undefeated. The AP has Georgia Tech above BYU because of the Clemson win. There is nothing else in Georgia Tech's schedule or resume that is remotely as good as BYU's. Syracuse is not good. Syracuse is 3-5. Duke, okay, they're 4-3. They're 3-1 conference play. That's not hard to do. I mean, you're looking at it right now. It's not hard to win in the ACC. Virginia Tech's bad. Wake Forest is bad. Temple, oh, but they almost beat Clemson. Give me a break. Clemson. This is one of the worst Clemson teams I have seen in my life. This probably is. Dabo Swinney, in my opinion, should be fired. He should have been fired their last loss, the week before the last loss. They're atrocious. Cade Klubnik was supposed to be a Heisman candidate, and he looks like what Bear Bachmeier and BYU was supposed to be. And Bear Bachmeier, heck, looks like Cade Klubnik out there. Gardner Webb in Colorado. Georgia Tech's best win right now is Colorado. On the road at Colorado. I love Haynes King. I love this team. They were my preseason darling. I had them winning the ACC outright. I had them beating Georgia this year. I am going undefeated and getting a top 4 bye. But as it is, dude, it's hard for me to give them much more than this. It's hard for me to give them much more than number 8. Because if you look at BYU, it's just much better, in my opinion. The first 3 games I'll give you are not the greatest. East Carolina's good, though, man. I don't care how many people say it. I don't care if you look at their record and say, oh, but they have a lot of losses. They're good, man. They're a solid group of 5 school. Playing on the road there is not always the easiest. East Carolina was hanging with BYU for a long time in that game. You look at the first half, BYU came out slow. That is a virtue of BYU this season that I think could come back to bite them, especially when they play Texas Tech upcoming. And yet they won convincingly. Oh, hey, look at it. Colorado. I think we just saw that, didn't we? Oh, yeah. Georgia Tech's best win is Colorado by a touchdown. BYU beat them too. Oh, it's by 3. BYU beat them. There's a W right there. Next game, West Virginia. West Virginia's bad. Arizona. Arizona's okay. They're 4-3, but you can see just from the last clip, Georgia Tech and the ACC. Oh, it's deep. It's only about 4 or 5 teams deep, really. 6 teams at most. The Big 12 has probably 12 bowl teams. Maybe 10 to 12 bowl teams. Arizona's pretty good. That game shouldn't have gone to overtime. I'll give you that. BYU should have won that more convincingly. But they came from behind. They won. They have black magic. They win games and win them. They don't just fluke into games a lot. There are some times where Bear Bachmeier looks possessed on the field, i.e., Utah. Utah is supposed to win that game. I thought Utah was a 5.5 point favorite day of. Utah got handled. That game, that scoreline looks closer than it was. If you watched that game and you understood what BYU was trying to do, BYU did every single thing they wanted to. That final touchdown, garbage time. It was shut down already. BYU should have probably scored more, but they didn't because Kalani Sitake's too nice. 24-21 win against Utah. That's a good win. I don't care if Utah's not ranked in the current AP or in the old AP or if their perception's not great. They're good. Iowa State on the road. I get it. Iowa State is 5-3. They're 2-3 in conflict. I get it. However, they are still an elite program. I had them winning the Big 12 this year. They're still elite. Making our preseason predictions for these teams, I think everybody had Iowa State, Texas Tech, and maybe Utah beating BYU. And BYU keeps proving you wrong. They keep proving me wrong. They keep impressing me. Bear Bachmeier is incredible. He's a freshman. I get it. But if not for him being a freshman, he would be in Heisman talks. His stat line, oh, it's not the greatest in America. He's incredible. He is paired with some great personnel around him. The defense is incredible. The secondary forced 5 turnovers on one of the most ball-secure QBs in the Big 12. They are great. I have them running the table. They have 2 hard games remaining. Even if they split them, they'll go to the Big 12 title game. They'll be a playoff lock. BYU is my 7. I understand Oregon and Texas Tech may be better teams on paper, but there is something going on in Provo. There's something going on in that locker room that last year's team could only glimpse. They had their hand on it for half a second, and they lost it. And I believe that BYU will not make that same mistake again this year. Oregon, you got stomped by Indiana, which I get it. Everybody does, but you're not. I can't put you above an undefeated BYU or Georgia Tech. Texas Tech, you're only lost to Arizona State. They're still elite. They have quarterback problems. They're on to their 3rd string, apparently. With Baron Morton, their injured 1st string, their injured starter, as the backup right now. That's not a good spot to be in when your next major game is against BYU. Texas Tech is in a dangerous spot. They need to fix it. So we'll run through again. Indiana, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU, Georgia Tech, Oregon, Texas Tech is your top 10. Miami 11, Vanderbilt 12, Cincy 13, Notre Dame. I have them too high. I'm sorry. I should have moved them further down. I kind of realized I messed up while I made it. Notre Dame 14, Virginia, Louisville, Houston 15, 16, 17. Navy, you're undefeated, current group of 5 representative. Tennessee, Oklahoma, Memphis, Utah. They keep doing stuff right. They just keep falling on the short end of the stick. San Diego State, best team in the group, best team in the Mountain West right now. Washington and Iowa. That is the top 25. That is my podcast for the day. That's all I got to say. So we will keep going and rolling this week. The NASCAR playoffs are coming up. We've got more Formula One winding down. College basketball is coming up, which, by the way, let me point out, BYU is the only team in the country with both top 10 team in both sports, by the way. We're just going to point that out. So, got a lot coming up. We will talk more tomorrow, probably. And then I will see you later.